Welcome, welcome to another 10 to 20 with Tanya. I'm Tanya, and today is the third, I think it's the third, in a series of live videos I'm doing where I talk about where popular, common things in the United States come from so that you can learn vocabulary in context, in a story in the sentences that they would normally get used. So I'm excited to share this information with you. And one of the best parts about this is that I can answer your questions. So if you have questions, be sure to put them in the live chat that's here if you're with me live, and in the comments if you're listening to the recording. So, just like when I was a kid, we would have a class, and I bet this is similar for you too. In class, if you had a question, you could raise your hand and the teacher would call on you. We would say the teacher calls on you, and you could ask your question. So for today, let's get started by finding out who's here listening in. If you're listening live, be sure to let me know in the chat so I can say hello. And our topic today is, where did hot dogs and hamburgers come from? And one of the things that I think is interesting about this story is that many, many, many things in the United States came from outside the United States because, as you know, so many people immigrated here in the last several hundred years, and they brought with them wonderful traditions, ideas, thoughts, and things from their countries. And so this is kind of what happened with hot dogs and hamburgers. In fact, before I started doing a little research about this topic, I would have told you hamburgers and hot dogs didn't come from the United States, even though they're thought of as kind of the main food, or when people think of what's food from the United States, they think of hamburgers and hot dogs. And in fact, they're kind of like a lot of things in the United States, all mixed together with different traditions. So SV's here with me sitting on my lap today. And I see we have Ukraine and Spain and Venezuela already. It's great to see you. So if you're here, do you like hamburgers or hot dogs or neither or kind of? Let me know in the chat. A big thing that I am really what's the word I want? Something that I know is very important. And so I'm very excited to do with these lives and here on YouTube is to have you have the opportunity to interact, because interacting and connecting are so important for learning a language. Column says not very much, just a little. So for me, I'm kind of the same, although sometimes I will get a hankering to get a hankering. I'll put this here in the chat. Sometimes I get a hankering. This is a little bit of an older phrase, to get a hankering, or maybe it's a more used in the middle of the country. I use this phrase all the time. It means I crave a hot dog or a hamburger. And to crave something means I really want it. Sometimes I'll just suddenly feel like, ooh, I really want a hamburger. I don't get a hankering for hot dogs very often, but sometimes I do with sauerkraut. And this is very, um, probably a big part of my heritage, even though it is not necessarily coming directly through my family, but the heritage, the German heritage, all around the area where I grew up in the middle of the United States in Nebraska, that area. So I love sauerkraut, and I love it with hot dogs. That's how I first learned to eat sauerkraut. But believe it or not, we also put sauerkraut on pizza. Ida, welcome from Mexico. It's great to see you here. I know Ida is also following me over on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, I have some different content there. Dag Salgad says hot dogs. Okay, this is awesome. So let me jump right into talking a little bit about this topic. But before I do that, these vocabulary words that I'm putting in the chat, like to get a hankering or to crave something, or you can say to get a craving. I will be sending all of those vocabulary words with definitions and examples to my free More English Club members later today or early tomorrow. And if you're not on that list, if you want to join that club, it's free. And the link is in the description below to join my free More English Club so that you can get even more practice with the vocabulary I'm sharing today. And this week, I'm also going to share with you a practice plan. I always share a practice plan, but specifically a practice plan that you can use with this video and several of the videos I already have on YouTube. So I will be sending that out in email soon. All right, I have some notes here, some from some thoughts I had, some from some research I did. So, hot dogs originated from when the Germans brought sausages over from Germany, um, and especially Frankfurters and Wieners. We will still call hot dogs Frankfurters. I want to make sure I spell this correctly. And Wieners. And the German immigrants brought them to the United States in the 1800s. And then the bun idea may have originated here when people would eat hot dogs at baseball games. So here in the United States, baseball games and hot dogs go together. If you go to a baseball game, people will say, I'm going to just go to a baseball game and have a hot dog and a beer or a hot dog and a Coke. And this is just a pastime that a lot of people in the United States love. And it's just this idea of a miniature vacation. Just go to a game and have a hot dog and a Coke. The name hot dog started as a joke in newspapers, which I think is interesting. I'm finding out a lot of our words and the way we say things started in newspapers. And this was early in the 1900s. And it was a joke because people said that the Frankfurters, the Wieners, looked like Dutch hounds. Dutch hound is a type of dog. Espy's not a Dutch hound. A type of dog that's long and thin and looks like a hot dog. We would now say the dog looks like a hot dog, but at that time they were saying this food looks like the dog. And so that's where the name hot dog came from. Now, another interesting thing about this word is the way that people used it for a long time is if something exciting happened or they were going to exclaim something, they would say, well, hot dog. I didn't know that. So if you ever hear that in a movie, that's where that comes from. It isn't as common for the younger generation to say that, but they will say that to make fun of their parents or whoever. All right. The hamburger became popular at fairs and diners in the early 1900s, especially with the rise of fast food in the United States. So, the United States is really famous for fast food. And in my research, I found that the name for hamburger comes from Hamburg, Germany. Now, I will say that there is not really controversy, but I would say a little disagreement about that. Some people say, yes, it comes from there. Other people say, no. It does seem like it could come from there since Hamburg is most of the word. So it's curious to me. Do you think that the name for hamburgers came from Hamburg, Germany? I'd love to know your thoughts. And let me see. I see we have a few more um, comments here. Hi, Lucy. Great to see you. Brazil, we have Brazil here with us. Movie and popcorn go together. I see you said walk together, and I totally understand what you mean. But in the United States, we would say they go together. Uruguay, welcome. And Dag Silgad is boiling some hot dogs right now. Now, here is another cool thing about hot dogs and hamburgers, but especially hot dogs. There are so many ways to prepare hot dogs. I'm going to have a drink of my coffee while you all type your questions in the chat because I would love to answer your questions. If you eat a hot dog, do you boil it? Do you fry it? Do you bake it? Do you broil? Boil is different than broil. Let me see, put that here. Do you boil it or do you broil it? These are different from each other. And my favorite way is to cook it over a campfire. Find a stick. Usually you look for a green stick, not the color green, meaning a stick that is not dried out, a stick that is still on the tree maybe, or it has just fallen and it's not dried out, so it won't catch fire as easily. And you whittle away the bark. Whittle away the bark. Now, we have bark, like the sound the dog makes is bark, 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 bark. But the bark on the tree is the outside skin of a tree, and you don't want that inside your hot dog. So you whittle away the bark and then put your hot dog on this stick. Put your hot dog on the stick and hold it over the fire. And even better if you have some hot coals. The coals are after the fire has died down, the fire has died down. I'm giving you lots of vocabulary today. So there's not so many flames. So this is the flame of the fire, not so many flames. And there's just the red, they look like little red shining blocks. They're embers. Sometimes they're called embers or coals. If you can take your hot dog and hold it over those red hot coals, you can get the perfect hot dog. And I like my hot dog cooked until it's almost black, not quite black, not burnt, just almost black. Okay, Aparacio Arguinarena, I hope I said that close to right, says, I prepare hot dogs by boiling them in water with lemon juice. Okay, I might have to try that. Vinegar, a little bit of salt, and 1 or 2 laurel leaves. Wow, that's specific. That's really interesting. Max says, I didn't know that hamburger originated from Germany. Hamburg, Germany. Yeah, I've always thought that, but if you go online, you'll see that some people agree with that, some people don't. And this is my tip for practicing your English. Anything you hear today, go online and look for more information about it in English. I love to do this with ChatGPT. You could do it in a search, anything that you want to do to further practice your English. And like I said, if you're a member of the free More English Club, I'm going to give you some practice plan ideas in your email, along with all the vocabulary here today. So if you're not a member, you can join at the link below. I see one person is asking, how am I? I'm actually doing great this morning. I had some difficulty earlier this week, no big deal, but it was frustrating. You know, I was saying to a friend, life, up and down, up and down. I heckin' love hot dogs so dang much, Dax says. Sounds pretty natural way to say, except I haven't ever heard anyone say I heckin' love, but I haven't heard everyone who speaks English. So it doesn't mean that no one says that. So let's see if I have anything more in my notes. And while I'm looking at my notes, be sure to put your questions whether it's about the vocabulary or any of the things I've said. And also, another thing you could do is try to use any of the words. You can see them over here. You can see the yellow blocks or squares or rectangles that say English Coach 3Ts, and next to them are a lot of the vocabulary words. It's easier to see on your computer, but you can see them on your phone. Okay, what are some of the traditions around hot dogs? I've already mentioned baseball, but of course, summer and barbecues. If it's summer, if somebody's having a barbecue, we know that there's probably going to be hot dogs and hamburgers. And in fact, people will say we're going to have dogs and hamburger, just dogs and hamburgers, or hot dogs and hamburgers. When you go up to the grill, whoever is taking care of the hot dogs or cooking the hot dogs and hamburgers will say, do you want a dog or a burger? Do you want a dog or a burger? It's hard for me to choose sometimes. I'll say one of each. And maybe if I eat one of each, I won't have a bun. So if you had to choose, which would you choose? Here's the conditional tense. We're getting some grammar in here too. You could write your full answer in the comments and say, if I had to choose, oh, pardon me, if I had to choose, I'll write it here. If I had to choose, I would choose, and then put your answer. But you can write just your answer, but I suggest you write the entire sentence. Why? Because your brain needs lots of repetition with this grammar until it can start using it. The more you practice, the more you are going to be able to use it when you have conversations. Hot diggity dog. Dag says, hot diggity dog. Deanna, welcome. It's great to see you. Deanna is in our fluency program. And if you would like more information about the fluency program, I send that information out to the free More English Club members, or you can send me an email and ask for more information, or go to my website, which is also linked below. I'm going to shorten Aparecio's name to Aparecio. Says, Tanya, I've learned that recipe from a famous restaurant here called La Pasiva. They taste scrumptious. Oh, that hot dog recipe. Very interesting. Um, Aparecio says, I'd obviously choose a delicious and juicy hamburger. Typically, what I will do is choose that first, especially if it is delicious and juicy. Sometimes hamburgers can be a little dried out. Okay, we talked a little bit about tradition, so you've learned a little culture. The thing about both hamburgers and hot dogs is that they're easy to eat outdoors with the bun. And now we even have corn dogs, which have like a cornbread around them. If you've ever had a corn dog, give me a thumbs up or a heart over here. They're also both pretty inexpensive. Right now, beef, so hamburgers, are very expensive. So expensive. In fact, I got a hankering, or like I said before, I got a craving for hamburgers a couple of months ago. And I went to the store to buy some hamburger to make myself a hamburger. I couldn't afford it. It was too expensive. It was $14 for 1 pound of hamburger. That is outrageous. Hamburger, typically you can get hamburger in the United States for $3 or $4 a pound. So $14 a pound. I don't know where they're saying our inflation isn't too bad, because that's like 4 times as much as what you would normally pay. But anyway, that gets into political things, and I don't want to get into any political stuff. All I know is I ended up buying the cheapest hot dogs I could find, which are also way more expensive, but less expensive than some things. Okay, here's another thing I learned. July is National Hot Dog Month in the United States. I did not know that. But another really amazing thing, get ready to practice listening to numbers. Americans eat more than 7 billion hot dogs between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So Memorial Day is at the end of May. Labor Day is at the end of September. So we have like June, July, August to September. In 4 months, Americans eat 7 billion hot dogs. That's amazing. And the world's largest hamburger weighed over 2,000 pounds. That is more than 907 kilograms. There's so much interesting about this. Can I speak English? Yes, I am a native speaker, but even native speakers make mistakes. There is so much information. There we go. There is so much interesting information about these really common things. You just have to sort of perk up your curiosity. Perk up your curiosity, like get your curiosity going. Go online and see what you can find out, and then start telling other people you know in English. This will help you to use your English, which of course is so, 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 so very important. Ida says, if I had to choose, I would prefer hamburgers. Sounds like a lot of people are preferring hamburgers. Somebody is saying, Mima, I live in Stockbridge, Georgia. I will just say, maybe in Georgia, the people there call people they don't know Mima, but here in California, that would not be considered a good thing. I totally get it. Don't worry. I don't think of it as a bad thing. I'm just letting you know that a lot of people are it pretty much anywhere in the West, even in the middle of the country, would not like it if you called them Mima. I'm totally fine with it. I live in Stockbridge, Georgia. This is in the South where people call each other Mima. I'd love for you to visit my home someday and meet my Mima. So oftentimes not oftentimes, some people call their grandma Mima. She's very sweet and often watches your videos. Oh, I love that. And they make her really happy. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And then Aparecio says, hey, Tanya, is it true that the situation in the US is so bad about the prices? It is true. It is true. I am here to tell you, it is true. If you have not watched my story videos, a lot of my story of videos more recently are about moving into my car and then moving into a school bus. Go watch those. Not only is it great for your English, but you'll learn more about that. This person says, I've seen some videos of people saying they're leaving the country. Yes, more than ever in my life, almost 60 years. I know people who are leaving the country, and I'm seeing lots of people leaving the country. There are some difficult and sad things going on here, which I know happens in all kinds of countries. So I'm just keeping hope that things are going to get better. Kind of like I said earlier, things go up and down for sure. All right. I hope that I see that Aparicio says that's sad. It is sad. There's some very sad things going on for sure. So I hope you learned something today, at least a word or maybe a little grammar, or you had some fun listening. There is so much you can do when you're listening and using your English that will help you to become fluent. And I hope to see you here in another live soon. Or if you're ready right now, I've put some links below so you can go watch some recorded videos now. I'll see you there. Bye, everyone.